accept the new system and adapt their behavior to the agenda. The monopolies of violence will be radically expanded and endowed with special rights to intervene in every sphere of life in case of violations of the agenda. Any citizen critical of the government can then be detained indefinitely or even killed without trial or charge. Brutal terrorist attacks and police raids are staged for public consumption to intimidate, silence and incapacitate critics. Before the situation escalates completely, people will be disarmed and gun laws will be adjusted so that victims will have no chance to fight back against the totalitarian agenda. The state will pass new eminent domain laws to arbitrarily seize property. In the first phase of eminent domain, people will be blackmailed into making any kind of renovations to their homes in order to meet climate goals. If they do not comply and refuse, the second phase of expropriation will criminalize and prohibit the sale, rental and occupancy of these homes. Millions of people will lose their homes and property, become dependent on the state, and have no alternatives to the 15-minute cities. Goal 12. Responsible consumption and production. Ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. There will be carbon budgets based on the Chinese model of social credit points, where each person can be individually penalized or rewarded for their consumption or behavior. A digital identity will be implemented worldwide. This will be required as the basis for issuing digital wallets. In addition, as part of the agenda, implantable digital identities will be issued to each individual at birth. All previously issued documents such as driver's license, ID card, passport, birth certificate, land records, medical records, patents, tax number will be merged as a digital record for digital identity. A global digital smart contract instance based on artificial intelligence will be created to govern all diet, usage, health, movement and temporary ownership rights. This will determine who can temporarily own or use something and for how long. Allocation of mobility rights, determining if and with which vehicles and within which radius a person is allowed to move. It also regulates what they may eat and what substances they must have injected. The Universal Monetary Unit, a digital world currency based on a central bank digital currency, becomes the only means of payment. It will primarily guarantee unrestricted transactions between governments, banks and corporations. The money of the basic income recipients, on the other hand, will be tied to conditions and constantly readjusted depending on the obedience of the system. Digital currency will have an expiration date and be programmable. Every person will be controllable via carbon dioxide points, and the United Nations will be able to determine where the digital money can be spent. The tax and control authorities, health authorities, doctors and hospitals and other institutions subordinated to the UN will have access to all data in real time and partly automatically, in order to be able to intervene in the consumption behavior of all people with prohibitions and punishments. Vaccinations, medications and other medical measures will be linked to the wallet, so that rewards and punishments can be given automatically as needed. All vehicles are monitored in real time. In the event of noncompliance with the zones and areas authorized for the vehicle, the driver will be warned in the first phase and penalized with the immobilization of the vehicle in the event of further noncompliance. All products and services, as well as the way we live, will have a carbon footprint. This will be digitally evaluated and rewarded or punished with points, which will also affect the basic income. This will make companies controllable, so that they will be prohibited from producing certain products or providing certain services if they violate climate targets. To facilitate the coming expropriation, a registration and verification requirement will be introduced for precious metals and valuables of all kinds. People who own gold and silver and have not registered it will not be allowed to sell it to official entities, as the purchase will only be legal for registered holdings. The expropriation of land to build, for example, wind farms, solar farms, or other regenerative systems is easily enabled on the basis of climate goals. People who cannot afford to rebuild their homes to the latest climate standards will not be allowed to rent, sell, or occupy them.